moving on to the East. So 2 Game 7s, like I mentioned in the intro. The Milwaukee Bucks came back, beat the Brooklyn Nets. We kind of harped on them pretty hard last week, said they needed to win this series. It looked kind of iffy for a little bit there. Kevin Durant was about an inch away from sending them home with a game-winning three-pointer. His foot was on the line. Absolutely brutal for KD, who just carried that Nets team. Kyrie never came back. James Harden, we learned, was playing with a grade 2 hammy strain this whole time. So props to him, even though I'm not a James Harden guy. But Milwaukee came through with a Game 7 overtime win. That overtime period was some of the worst basketball I've ever seen. I think they scored a total between the two teams, 6 points in 5 minutes. It was just no one played defense. Everyone shot for it. It was terrible. But anyway, Milwaukee moved on. And then, as Trey mentioned, the number 1 seed, Philadelphia 76ers, fell to the 5 seed Atlanta Hawks, also in Game 7. It all kind of went on Ben Simmons' shoulders for sure. I saw some stat. He shot the worst from the free throw line in any NBA playoff run ever, 32% or something. Just pretty brutal. So before we talk about the teams that won, let's start with the Brooklyn Nets. You really saw that without those other 2 stars, those role players were not up to the stuff, or whatever you want to call it, to help KD along. So with the Nets moving forward, what are we thinking with them? Are they still a title contender next year, or do they need to rework and rethink some things?
I think they're definitely still a title contender. Comes down to health once again. I think the series showed that those role players, they're probably not going to be with the team again this year. You see it with the Lakers and the super teams. You keep those 3 core guys, 3 or 4 core guys, and then everybody else you shuffle through. And you just keep recycling until you find somebody who works with that system. So the role players that played in this season, I don't think they'll be there. As long as those 3 guys can stay healthy, they're always going to have a chance.
Yeah, I agree with James.
No, you go.
All good. Obviously having those core 3, you're going to be successful and you're going to be in the running, and then you just got to build around it. So I think they kind of found out what their weaknesses were with this, especially with 2 of their big 3 going down. So they're going to address those in the offseason the best they can. But yeah, I think they'll easily be a top 3 in the East again next season.
I've preached this team all season, but it seems like we saw they're not really a team. They're just a couple of talented dudes thrown together. They had some adversity. They had some injuries, like James said, and you just saw it was Durant versus everybody else. Harden maybe a little bit, but they're going to cycle through the role players, like James said, and they just weren't a team. And the teams, the Lakers had a lot of role guys last year, but they all played as a team together and they won. So, they didn't have that this year, and they'll be good next year, but I just don't see them playing like a team with Kyrie and Kevin Durant together. And maybe that's just me hating on Durant, but that's going to be their biggest issue moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, this makes me eat my words when it comes to talking about this game, and that it's not just up to the top 3 all the time. I mean, you do every time we compare the top 3, but there's injuries. There are things that you need to have some kind of contingency plan. You need to have the players that can actually play very competent basketball when your top guys are down. And we're going to see it in the Western Conference Series right now. We're going to see that. So it comes down to those depth guys, and maybe basketball is a lot closer to hockey than I give it credit for.
Yeah, they were never healthy all year. Kevin Durant was coming back from that Achilles injury, and honestly, what he did in the playoffs, coming back from a major injury like that, is nothing short of amazing. So big props to KD. And they just never were healthy, and that was just the end of it. If they'd all been healthy all season and could have gotten a better flow together, it might have ended differently. Moving to Philly, I said in my very first power rankings, this is a make it or break it year for Philly. If They go far, you can trust the process. They didn't go far, it's time to untrust the process, distrust the process. Something witty about not trusting the process.
Fuck the process.
I think if you are the Philadelphia 76ers GM, you look at your roster, you say Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, Steph Curry are locks. Everyone else can go away. Trade them, get what you can for them. What do you guys think is the future for Philly? They're probably going to be one of the teams most looked at during the offseason. But just your guys' thoughts on the Philadelphia 76ers.
Which did you say were untouchable? Which three?
Joel Embiid, Steph Curry, and Tobias Harris.
Okay. I thought Steph Curry was a huge revelation this season. In years past, he was kind of just there. He was the other Curry brother who shot every once in a while. But this season, I think he really came into his own, especially in the playoffs. I mean, he was putting up almost 30 points a game multiple times and being very consistent from three. At times when Embiid was out, he was their only offensive option because Tobias Harris is hot and cold. Ben Simmons needs to go see a psychologist. Same like Markelle Fultz years back, how his shot was broken. Ben Simmons' shot is just as broken. So they got to fix something. I mean, he came in the league being the guy who doesn't shoot threes. Then he came in the league. Then like next, he's the guy who doesn't make free throws. And now he's the guy who doesn't shoot at all. And that, if you're going to play basketball, man, you can't be, and you're going to be a star, an all-star, you can't be the dude who doesn't shoot. Yeah, you're a really good defensive guy. You're not Bruce Bowen, though. Bruce Bowen was good on that Spurs team because he was good at defense. But he shot more than Ben Simmons did. And Ben Simmons was the number one overall pick. Like, he's a damn good player. Shoot more. Go see a psychologist. Go talk to Markelle Fultz. See what he did. Markelle Fultz had a bounce back year this year. If you can do the same thing, good things will happen in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this conversation, guys. I mean, James, you just brought it up. Defense supposedly wins championships, but if you can't score, you're still not going to win. And I think we saw that with Ben Simmons. I agree with you, Alex. There's a huge drop off from the top three down. I mean, huge. It's not like it's close, and obviously their big three are always going to go off, but there was a huge drop off, and you need to retool. I think we have kind of a similar, not quite the same, but a similar situation with Brooklyn. Like your bottom, whatever, how many guys did not play well enough against a team that is playing with house money at this point, for Christ's sake. I mean, you don't want to give those teams any life, and they gave them too much life. But I agree with you, James. Seth Curry really came into his own.
And the last thing with Simmons, it sucks. I do feel a little bad for him. I hope he gets everything figured out. But yeah, a lot of the blame went to him. I saw like a tweet from like 2017, and it was like in a interview, a reporter asked Simmons, "What's your take on this hack of Simmons? You know, like people have found out you can't shoot the ball." He said, like, "Let them keep doing it. I'll show them. I'll prove them wrong," or something like that. That's going to stop soon. And now you look 5 years later, it looks like it's gotten even worse for him. So it's just something that hopefully he goes and fixes over time.
Just a mental block. The athletes figure this out, or they don't, and we may see him become one of those players that just drifts off.
Kwame Brown. It's gonna be Kwame Brown.
I think I
don't even know who that is. So there you go.
Yeah, I think when your head coach is asked by a reporter whether or not you're a championship level player, and he responds, "I don't know," never a good thing. And I think he doesn't know because I don't think Ben Simmons knows, and so he needs to figure out that himself. And I mean, hopefully this is setting up for an awesome comeback story. But yeah, at the moment, yeah, he's not the guy.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the fourth quarter in that game 7, Ben Simmons had the ball, made a move on the defender, and passed during a wide open dunk. He's 6'11". He can throw down a dunk, and he looked scared to do that. So I agree with you, Eric. I think Ben Simmons, I hope that it all comes back for him. He figures it out in the off season. It definitely feels like one of those things where he needs to start fresh somewhere else. And Philly is not exactly the easiest place to play in the world either. If you want to be a Eagle or a Philadelphia Phillies player, like Philly is not an easy place to play other than maybe like New York and Boston. The media there is pretty brutal and the fans are fucking mean because it's the East Coast. So it's not an easy place to play. You know, maybe if he kind of restarts himself somewhere else a little less under the lights, it could be super beneficial for him.